guys, so welcome back to Favorite Friday. For this case, we are going to discuss another murder out of California. Specifically, I think this one takes place. This one takes place in Long Beach, California. This one was pretty unique to me because our killer is an accordion. Teach the accordion, and I think she got off pretty light considering all the things that she had done to our victim. And so, with that being said, I highly doubt any of you have probably heard this case, but if you have, just let me know down below. I would like to give a shout out to True Red Crime because I found out the case through him, and I think a good chunk of my information that I got from the video I'm doing is going to be from him. So I'm pretty sure he should be the first link down below. So shout out to that channel. And so that being said, I'm going to give you my take on it. And so quit my rambling and let's get started. So Violet Berling, who was the accordion teacher in the story, she was born in 1928. There's a little girl in the story by the name of Katherine Frances Erickson was born on April 22nd, 1940. On June 28th, 1948, so Katherine would have been about 8 at the time. Beatrice, who was Katherine's mother, basically had gotten recommendations for Violet's class because Violet is an accordion teacher. And then apparently at the time, Beatrice was the sole income because their dad was not working. And mind you, this is the 40s, so usually the man was working, mom stayed at home. So then, of course, if she's paying all the bills, she's the sole income. There's a point where she wasn't going to be able to afford the lessons, but Katherine apparently was still getting them. And then apparently, I guess Beatrice trusted Violet enough because there was a point where she asked, hey, can you actually take care of Katherine while I'm dealing with separating from her father? So then on June 17th, 1950, Katherine would apparently be left at the shop because I guess at this point, this is when she starts staying full-time with Violet, and Beatrice would apparently only visit her once in the entire time that she was staying with Violet. So then on October 10th, I assume still 1950, Katherine would apparently be seen tied to a filing cabinet. Apparently Violet's boss would apparently take her out to dinner. She was gone for like an hour and a half, and I assume nobody was watching Katherine at the time. And there's at least 2 other times where apparently she was also tied to something else. There were times where apparently she would get beaten by Violet if she was not playing the accordion notes right and encourage the other kids, so she was also teaching to beat her as well. She would have Katherine apparently play with herself in front of the other kids and basically tell the other kids that to not tell anybody what was happening or something awful would happen to them. And then of course you can imagine all this beating, there's going to be bruises on Katherine's body. So then of course Violet apparently was putting what was called apparently cake makeup on her face to cover said bruises. And there would be a classmate by the name of Thelma. Not sure if that's her actual name, because mind you, she's a minor. So, also, I could imagine they would be protecting kids' names. She apparently had asked Katherine, seeing Katherine with 2 black eyes. And Violet apparently would come in and say that Katherine had apparently run into a wall and had chewed on her finger as to why she looks like that. So in early October, Violet would apparently claim that Katherine was over sleepwalking and talking in her sleep about death. She calls Beatrice, remember Katherine's mother, and Beatrice apparently says that there's a family friend who apparently is doing dark magic on them as to why my daughter is doing that. So on October 12th, apparently firefighters are called, and they show up to the house, and Katherine unfortunately is found dead on the couch. Her cause of death will be ruled is basically like food in her airways due to injuries. There was a triangle-shaped burn apparently above her vagina, and her anus and vagina apparently were both dilated. So clearly she was being abused. Because again, Katherine's only 10 years old. Violet then apparently claims that Katherine had did all the injuries to herself and that she was asleep, but she woke up around 6 a.m. to find Katherine tied up to the chair, basically trying to say that Katherine must have done that herself. She then apparently claims that she put Katherine on the couch, which is where y'all found her, and that she called her boss not sure if Katherine was either in a trance or dying, and that her boss apparently come over soon after. So then apparently local waitresses would come forward and they would say that, Violet, Katherine, and Violet's boss apparently would have dinner together with the 3 of them, but they would never actually get a plate for Violet. Like the 2 of them would eat, and Katherine's just over there starving, essentially. So then Violet tries to claim that Katherine was actually self-harming herself and that she was into it. That was all her. And then at one point, apparently she had a boyfriend named Miguel. She tried to blame him for Katherine's death, and Miguel actually testified against Katherine in exchange for immunity. So as far as we know, he actually wasn't involved, but he may have been. Who knows? So then, of course, defense, as they usually try to do in a case like this, they claim mental insanity. Apparently, a doctor was brought in to test Violet, and it was claimed that she was listless, but she knew what was going on. She knew what she was doing. So sometime in March, I don't know the first time this happened, but apparently Violet apparently asked for a recess during the trial, which was granted. She apparently would claim to be dizzy, and they said, we're just going to start the trial next day if you don't feel well. She apparently faints for the first time in court on March 29th. Apparently her doctor would try to say that she was not mentally ill, but she did suffer from fainting spells. She apparently was faint again at cross-examination in front of everybody. She apparently falls out of the witness box on April 3rd, and then apparently that's not even the last time she faints. Apparently she faints like multiple times in court, and you can imagine that's like a whole bit. That was like a whole thing. So former students apparently would actually come forward, because again, Vi's a teacher. They find former students and they would claim that she was abusive to us too. But we made it out alive, unlike Katherine. And a 9-year-old would apparently actually say that they wanted to see Violet die by the gas chamber due to how abusive apparently she was to them. So originally, Violet gets sentenced to life in prison. The defense, of course, would try to claim that Violet was not all there mentally, and somehow this is her retrial. She was, of course, sentenced back to prison. She isn't, like, let off scot-free or anything, thank God. But by the time of the retrial, she is legally declared blind due to ulcers that she had gotten from somewhere. So when she is resentenced to 15 years, and apparently she died in 1983. So yeah, that is the case of the accordion teacher killer. Like I said, I highly doubt you've heard this case before, but you have. It was probably from True Red Crime, which is where I heard it from. So again, shout out to them. Like I said, if you guys know other cases where a teacher killed somebody, definitely let me know. So with that being said, I cover fatal females 2 times a week. This is Scott from Fatal Females. I'll see you guys next one. Bye.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you